So the final question that I'm looking at answering from the New York lottery task from week 1 is looking at how many times each number ball is drawn on a particular day. So its probability again, so it's very similar to this first bit, this first section here, J to L, apart from we're looking how many times does each number get drawn on each particular day. So I'm going to come over and start working in a new area over here. And again, I'm going to lay out my numbers down the side. Oops. One more. And then at the top, I'm going to lay out my days. And what we're looking for is the number of times that a draw happens in each particular case. So how many ones are there on a Monday I want to display here? How many ones are drawn on a Tuesday? How many ones are drawn on a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, etc. So we're going to need a COUNTIF, but it's going to be a COUNTIF S. So the first, when I've opened my brackets, the first thing it says is criteria range 1. So criteria range 1, we want to know anything in this column, comma, and back to the top. Oops, sorry. We want to know anything in this column and the criteria is equal to 1, so it's equal to that number there. We also want to know our second criteria on this, whether the day of the week that it's drawn on, so criteria range 2, comma, and we want that to equal S1. Okay, so I'll stop with that for a moment. So there are 117 instances where a 1 appears in column B and it's a Monday in column H. Okay, so it's looking in column B for whatever's in R2, so that's a 1, and it's looking in column H for whatever's in S1, which is a Monday. Now that's fine for 1, because number 1 is always going to be the lowest number in our draw. We have the potential, as we go higher up, for numbers to appear in column C or D or E or F as well. So we're going to have to add all of those other instances. We've also got the issue that if we want to be clever, we're going to need to stick some of these references so that we can drag our formulae across and down. So if we do the sticking first, and then we do a little bit of editing. So we're always going to want to look in that range B2 to B6873 to start with. We're always going to be interested in whatever is in column R for our number, but we want the row number to change. So as I drag down, it will get bigger. So it will be referencing different numbers in this column R. We also want to fix the column that we're looking in for our day of the week, H2 to H6873. But in terms of the row, the day we're looking up, as we drag it along, we want it to change the day. So we want S to change to T. So we don't want to fix the column, we do want to fix the row, because our row with our days in is always the top row. So if I was to drag that across, you can see now we're still looking in column B, we're still looking in cell R2, but we're now looking in H2 to H6873. We're looking for Tuesday, that's highlighted in green, instead of Monday. So that tells me there are 154 ones drawn on a Tuesday. Now, I'm quite happily drag that across and it'll work perfectly well for the ones, but as I go further down it will be less and less accurate, because for instance 39 is never going to appear in the first column of numbers because it's never going to be the lowest number. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of extra work. So I'm going to highlight that formula, copy, I'm going to have to add in another 4 of those. So I'm pushing add and copying and pasting. And that's then got 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, 5. That's for each of my 5 columns, for my 5 different numbers that are being drawn. I'm then going to have to go in and tweak this slightly. So I'm also interested in column C, and I'm interested in column D for the range where the ball is being looked up, and I'm interested in column E, and finally I'm interested in column F. And you can see that for the first one that hasn't changed. I wouldn't expect it to, because 1 is always going to be, as we said, the smallest number. So 1 is always going to appear in column B, but some of the other numbers will appear in C or D or E or F. So what we're now doing is we're looking for this first bit, all of the times where there's a 1 in column B and a Monday in column H, plus all the times where there's a 1 in column C and a Monday in column H, plus all of the times where there's a 1 in column D and a Monday in column H, all of the times where there's a 1 in column E and a Monday in column H, and all of the times where there's a 1 in column F and a Monday in column H. What I can now do is I can drag that across to there, and it will fill all of those in. Go sideways a little more so you can see, double click on the bottom right corner and it's filled everything in. And the final thing we said was, well, normally a probability is between 0 and 1. So the final thing I can do is I can put brackets around all of this, close brackets, and then I can divide all of that by our max from earlier. So our max from earlier, if you remember, we put at the bottom of this list, it's the same number of balls being drawn, 34,360, but I always want to fix that K41 reference. So the probability of a 1 being drawn on a Monday is 0.003405. I can drag that across, and you can see there's not a massive variation. What that's going to do though is that's going to filter out some of the variation where, for instance, Friday draws have been going on for longer, as we saw at the beginning. So now we can see the probability of all of them, and if you wanted to plot that on a graph, probably not very useful to plot all of those different numbers on a graph, but perhaps how likely a number was on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday on its own graph, or how likely a number was on every day of the week. Then you could do that and you could analyse the data that way. So that concludes the New York Lottery Take 5 task. That's analysed all of the different questions, apart from questions 9 and 10, which, as I said, were too broad a remit to do in the session. Perhaps they were wider than I initially anticipated. I'll upload both the video, but also I'll upload this finished spreadsheet onto my website so you can navigate through and have a look at it in more detail. And if anyone has any questions, we have the online sessions that are occurring weekly according to the schedule on Blackboard.